Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about how to transplant your bonsai. Before you even think about yanking that little guy out of his pot he's already in, you better have a pot prepared for him to go right into. Now, selection of a bonsai pot is very, very, very important. The aggregate of bonsai soil is very, very loose, so you want to make sure that your pot can have just as much drainage as that soil. So the right pot is going to have tons of holes in the bottom, either being 2 large holes or a whole bunch of little holes in the form of a grate. Now, if you do have 2 large holes at the bottom of your pot, make sure there's some sort of screen or some sort of grid work on top of it so that your soil doesn't fall out. Now, once you've found the proper bonsai pot, you're ready to move on to the next step. So, you got your little bonsai ready and you think it's time, but do you really know if it's time? Now, signs that your bonsai is ready to be transplanted into a new pot are going to include an inability to keep the soil moist, and the little sprout is always going to be kind of like drooping, not looking its best, and sometimes looking a little yellow. That's signs that you know it's time to go into a new pot. Also, look for some constriction of the root system. If you can see roots at the top of the soil, or if they're coming out the bottom of your existing pot, it's totally time for a new bonsai pot, and it's time to start moving it. Now, leading up to the day of transplant, you want to make sure you water it in really good, so that that little plant takes up all kinds of water, and it's good and hydrated for the big day tomorrow. Before you ever think about taking that little sprout out of its pot, make sure that the new pot has the soil prepared and already in it. What you're going to want to do is take a really high quality bonsai soil. Now, you can tell high quality bonsai soil because it's going to be really rich in rocky aggregate. You're going to have lava, you're going to have pumice, you might have turfus. You don't want anything that looks powdery at all. You don't want anything super high in peat moss. You don't want stuff with a bunch of white stuff in there because it's just going to float. You don't need that. You want a good rocky aggregate. And you can check it out online. Good bonsai soil will usually have a picture of the soil with a little nickel or a penny just to show the size of the aggregate. Now, once you get your bonsai soil at your house, inspect, make sure there's no funky stuff in there. I know I got a bag once and there was like a nail in it and whatever. Quality control, guys. So anyways, you go ahead and you fill that bonsai pot to the top. Make sure it's nice and level. And then you go ahead and scoop out a little divot where you want your little plant to be. Now, if you're doing transplanting with a tiny little sprout, you can skip this step. If your sprout is more advanced, if it's a bigger sprout, if it has a more substantial root system, you're going to have to wire it into the plant or into the pot. And I'll make another video on that on another day. So just kind of plug your ears if you have that going on. So once you get your little divot and you've got your plant extracted, you're going to want to put it right there flush. Very loosely pack it in and sprinkle a little bit of soil on top of that bonsai soil. Now, the hard part is getting the plant out. I'm going to tell you how. When you're ready for the big moment, the hardest part is going to be trying to get your little sprout out of that pot. That's the only place it's known. And it's not going to be really eager to just get yanked up by its roots and put somewhere else. So you have to be very, very, very gentle. Now, if you're using a Garden Republic pot, there are 2 ways that you could easily get those roots out of the pot. One way, it's not the best way, but it works good, is to take some scissors and cut down the side of the pot. That way you're not yanking or pulling or really manipulating that soil structure too much. Now, yes, sadly, you won't be able to use that pot again, but it's going to be the easiest way to get those roots out. Now, you could also use a spoon to loosen around the edges and then try to scoop it out. I haven't had the best of luck with that, but it works for some people, especially ones that are super constricted in their root system and they're root bound. Now, if you don't want to cut your pot, I totally understand. It's a cute pot. You can go ahead and squeeze the pot, trying to mold it into like a little, I don't know, like a little clay ball. Just push the sides in to try to compact the soil a little bit. And then from there, you could take your fingers and try to loosely take it out, very gently. Now it's gonna resist you. And there's a couple of reasons why. It's not going to have as much structure as it did when the roots are all in there. So when you start tugging, the roots are gonna kind of separate from the soil. So you wanna try to keep it all together. And once you get it out, you wanna put it into your pot, and you have to have that pot prepared before you start putting it over there. You don't want those roots sitting out on your countertop for as long or at any time. You just don't want that. That's how you can transplant your bonsai. Super easy, right? Now make sure you water it in really good after you put it in the new pot. Now, if you have any questions, as always, we're here to help. Reach out to us, send us an email at wecare@shopgardenrepublic.com. Find us on Facebook. Look at us over on Instagram. We got some cool stuff. And find our instant messaging bot. We're there to help you almost 24 hours a day. Happy gardening, everyone.